I want to kick it off. I want to invite everybody to watch another episode of Rampage Side Quest. I want y'all to meet my really good friend, Thomas de la Mora.
I like the way he says that.
Yeah, I got the Thomas part from Junior right there.
Everybody always says, "Hey, what's up, Thomas?" with the H, right? I was like, "Nah, it's Tomas." It's
Tomas
without the H. So yeah, you said it perfectly.
Yeah, so I'm just learning that you Filipino. This whole time I thought
a part of me might be.
so you said your
Mahal.
Your name come from Italy?
Italy, northern Italy, yeah. Yeah, when I researched it a little bit, because I would ask I have a cousin in Mexico. I call him the family tree. He knows everybody, and I hit him up. I'm like, da da da. What do you know? And he told me this, da da da. And I was like, okay. So I kind of did my own little research from there. I kind of kept going back, and the furthest I found it was northern Italy. So I was like, no wonder why I talk with my hands. It's that Italian in me.
Yeah. Do you do like this?
I will sometimes.
Do you eat a lot of Italian food?
I wish, man. I'm too fat to be eating Italian food all the time.
Man, it's a lot of carbs, huh?
Way too much.
But it's good though, huh?
It's the best.
Oh, I love it. My favorite Italian dish is probably like chicken parmesan.
Man, I was in Vegas for the Olympia, right? And my wife and we go eat at this restaurant. And the craziest thing happened to me that never happened to me before. But we were in Vegas, and I ordered a burger because I'm a burger guy. Like to me, it's really hard to a burger. So we're at Gordon Ramsay's, and I ordered a burger. It's bomb, and I ordered with onion rings. And for something, just told me, "Stop it, fat ass! Stop eating so much greasy food." So I looked at this guy who was getting served a salad, and I was like, "I'm craving a salad." My wife looked at me. She was like, "You okay?" And I was like, "I don't know. I've never craved a salad before, but yeah, here I was eating a salad." And after that, I said, "I think I'm burgered out." My wife got Italian food, and I was eating off her plate because it was so good. And I was like, damn, I miss Italian food. It's the best.
Is your wife Italian?
No. Well, actually, she's Brazilian, but she's part Italian because her grandmother was Italian. So, yeah, she's got some Italian in
She speak Portuguese? Oh, wow. And did you meet her in America or Brazil?
I met her here. I used to own a gym called Self-Made, and she was a client there. And she came in, and they're like, hey, you remember her? I had met her at a show one time. Because one of my trainers at the time was in a show, so they were friends, and she introduced me, and I was like, "Oh, cool, Brazilian." And because of my history of going to Brazil and training down there and stuff, I have an affinity for Brazilian culture. I love it. So I started messing around with her, and of course I was like, "Hey, I've been to Brazil, and all my Brazilian friends, they teach me how to say something. I don't know what it means." And it's basically the Portuguese translation of "I'm in the mood for some vajayjay." Yeah.
How do you say it?
Okay, so the way you say it is you say, "Eu tenho fome de buceta." Brasileira. Buceta is vagina.
Yeah, that's the only word I understood.
So I told her that. I'm like, "What does it mean?" And she looked at me. She started she goes, "You're Brazilian, huh?" And I said, "No, I'm not. I'm not Brazilian." She goes, she was like, and I was like, "Don't get offended. I'm just joking with you." She was like, "I know." She goes, "But you joke around a lot." I go, "All the time." I go, "If it offends you," I said, "I won't joke around. Just let me know." She was like, "No." She goes, "I miss this. This is Brazilian culture." I said, "Exactly. It's Mexican culture too. This is how we are. We bust balls." I said, "This is what we do." And so I joked around. I told her this, and she started laughing. And then so we became friends. And then
she friend zoned you?
Actually, it's weird because not really. We started following each other on social media, and the way we kind of went about was one day I was at the gym late. I was just sometimes I would just stay there because I'm one of those persons. I love my gym. I love being there. I love the energy and everything, And it was like a Friday night, 10 o'clock, and I'm just messing around on my phone, and I noticed she responded to my story that I had posted that day. And it was like 10:30 at night, and I responded back right away, and I'm like, "It's a pretty girl like you doing home on a Friday night." That was my opener.
Oh, damn.
And she was like, I'm just home. I actually prefer to stay home than go out. And I was like, where do I find a girl like you? Are you busy the rest of your life? So right then and there, I just asked her out and say, "Hey, would you like to have dinner tomorrow? I'm interested in you." And she goes, "Yes." We went out the next day, and I thought she was gonna kind of we'll go out, but if it doesn't work out, I'll be home early enough, or I'll have time to go for a second date. Because she goes, "I'll meet you at 6 for dinner." And I was like, it's one of those. So we went out. We ended up closing the restaurant down just till 2 in the morning. We were right there at Seoul in Newport Beach, and we closed it down, and the night was over, and I was like, "You're going to be pretty significant in my life."
And you just, the first date
we didn't stop talking for 8 hours, just bullshitting, talking. And that's when I looked at her and I said, hey, I don't know where this is going, but I know you're going to be significant in my life. And she was like, do you think so? And I said, yeah. And I said, I want to go out with you again. And she was like, okay, when? I said, tomorrow. And she goes, okay. Went out the next day. The third Monday, I was like, I want to go out with you again. And so she was like, okay. So we had left the movies and we're in line at the drive-thru. She asked me, she goes, hey, are you dating anybody else right now? I said, no. I said, I don't date multiple people at one time. I said, I'm kind of old school like that. And she goes, good, because me either. And I don't like doing that. I said, great. I'll be your boyfriend. And
on the third day.
Third date. I go, yeah, I'll be your boyfriend. I accept. And she goes, what, accept what? I go, you just asked me to be your boyfriend. But that was me making fun of her because the whole language barrier thing, right? And I go, that's how they do it in America. Yeah. Like, you didn't know that?
Oh, she was new to America at this time.
Bro, my wife had only been here at the time 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so she was still adapting to American way, culture. So
good English already?
I think she has amazing English. She has the insecurity that she goes, oh, baby, my English. I'm like, your English is great. I said, stop worrying about it. I said, you have an amazing accent, plus you're cute. I see you get away with a lot of shit. So, but I think she speaks good English. What do you think, Junior?
Oh, damn, she sounds really good.
I never talk. I've seen her. Your wife is beautiful. And I've seen her, but I never heard her talk.
You say that? Like, what the f is she doing with you?
Yeah,
like, your wife is beautiful.
Yeah,
what the f is she doing with you? That's the way I took it.
That's actually the way I was. I'm sorry that you picked up on that.
No, I pick up on shit really, really fast. I'm good at that. Yeah.
I didn't want to offend you because you're a cool dude. Maybe
I'm not offended because I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I look at her and I'm like, what the f are you doing with me?
I'm gonna tell you.
Trust me.
I hope you don't get mad, but I'm gonna be honest. When the first time I found out that was your girlfriend, I'm gonna be honest. I was like, this.
Hold on. Let me see if I can guess. You were like, this has a big cock or a big bank account.
I actually thought this eat ass.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, how you get a girl this hot?
He eats ass.
Bro, I went to Brazil a couple times, right? I think one of the first times I went to Brazil, I went with my first ever jiu-jitsu coach. His name is Fabiano Iha. He fought in the UFC a long time ago.
That's where I first met you, Rampage, at Fabiano Iha's Academy in Rampage. Remember, I don't know, when you first came to the gym, you said, you look familiar.
Yeah, you did.
And I said, you're not going to remember me, but I used to train with you 20 years ago. And you're like, you did? And I said, yeah. And then you said, where? And I said, it could have been here or here at Fabiano Iha's. And Tika was with you. He goes, that was my place. I go, you guys had the cage in the back, the octagon in the back. I go, you used to show up with Tito Ortiz, and you guys were very raw. Yeah. You guys were just straight up raw, like, we want to fight.
Yeah.
And I would go with the Brazilians because my coach, Francisco Bueno, like my brother,
I
one of my
remember
best
him, yeah.
He's my brother, man. So he's living in Vegas now. And so he would take me with them, and like I was his American student. I was his kid. I was his guy.
Francisco Bueno, he fought in Pride.
He fought in Pride.
He fought Igor Vovchanchyn.
Yeah, that was a heartbreaker.
That was a heartbreaker.
He caught a solid right and went down in the first few seconds of the fight, unfortunately.
Igor was a beast.
Yeah, Igor. You fought Igor.
I fought Igor. I fought him on 3 weeks' notice. But I was like, I ain't finna stand with this man.
Smart.
Yeah, he was a beast. A lot of the new MMA fans don't know about Igor.
Oh man, they don't. They don't. He was. They used to call him. I think they used to call him the potato.
Because he
looked like a potato. He didn't have a fighter's shape. He wasn't like ripped or anything like that. No. He looked like a potato. But oh my God, he's a beast.
He was a beast, bro. I think one of his last fights was when he fought Krokop. I ain't see him fight. I don't remember him fighting him after that. Krokop knocked him out. You know, my eyes are bad. I wear contacts, but when I fight, I don't. And Krokop called me into the ring. I was like, me? So I felt bad, because me and
Ego was wrong one day to look alike. You're twins, man.
No, I didn't know. I was like, I didn't know why Krokop called me in the ring.
Rampage. Don't take this the wrong way, dog. If there was another black dude sitting next to you, he would have said the same thing. He would have been like, Rampage. I'm sorry, Rampage.
The only other black guy that was there was Kevin Runneman. He had blonde hair, so you couldn't confuse us.
Rest in peace, man.
Yeah, RP. He was a beast. So you watch a lot of MMA?
You know, when I used to do jiu-jitsu with Francisco, MMA was my life. You know, I'd go to Brazil with them. I would, train with them over there. I love jiu-jitsu. And I followed it afterwards, but there was a time when I was just like kind of angry because I couldn't train. And I say this because it's like this. When I used to train with Francisco, I was like his guy, and we would go to tournaments and I was winning tournaments. And I'll tell you how far back me and Francisco go. In 1998, Okay, we're talking 26 years ago.
That's when I was leaving high school.
Pretty much. And so Francisco put me in a tournament. I won the grand championship that year, blue belt grand champion. You know, went through everybody, beat the number 4th guy, ranked guy in the nation. I mean, everything. So now I go to schools and I just want to train, man. So Francisco leaves, we close our school. I try to go to other schools, and it was like, oh, hey, I know you. And it become a headhunting thing. And I couldn't learn. And I was just like, man, I want to come to learn. I don't want to come to fight every single time.
Right.
I didn't find the right group of people that were like, okay, let's train together. Let's all get better together, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't have that. So then I stopped doing jiu-jitsu. And I stopped watching MMA, stopped watching UFC. I would follow you because I felt like I know him and I want to see him succeed, you know? And like I would follow Tito. I knew him. I want to see him succeed, you know? So in that sense, I followed you guys, but I wasn't like, oh, like I knew the whole history of it. Because there was a time and I was like, I want nothing to do with that. Like,
All right, now don't run over me with one of your Ferraris or nothing. I have to ask you this question. How did you do jiu-jitsu and do triangle chokes with that leg?
well, the leg injury, I lost my leg 9 years ago. Back then when I did jiu-jitsu, I was able-bodied. I had 2 legs.
You had 2 legs.
Yeah.
So you don't do jiu-jitsu anymore?
No, I actually I signed up for a minute. I was going to Leo Vera's dojo in Seal Beach because it's right by my house, and great instruction. One day you would laugh at this with Rampage. I went into my instinct. I was training against a big dude, and we were moving, we were rolling, and I was like, oh, I got this dude on a sweep. And I go to my left to sweep him, and I don't have a left leg to sweep. And it's like, and I was like, oh man, this is just a reminder that I'm an amputee and I only have one leg now.
Sometimes you just forget.
You
Wow.
forget.
Do you think you can still feel like your foot and something?
I still feel it all the time.
You can feel your foot
all the time.
Wow.
So this is gonna sound crazy, but because my injury was trauma, and this is what I mean by trauma. So when I had my accident, I was on a motorcycle and I got basically cut off by a diesel truck. Okay, the front wheel of the diesel truck, you know, the long lug nuts.
Yeah.
That's what like my leg met that wheel as it was turning. Oh. So that's what took off my leg.
It took it off right there.
Pretty much, like 3/4 of it. Because when I of course at the impact I was knocked unconscious. When I came to, I was sliding and I could just feel like my helmet rubbing against the concrete. Yeah. And I was like, and I woke up and I was like, shit. So I went like this, and right away I touched myself to make sure I was cool. I looked around. I'm in the middle of the freeway. I see cars, moving, whatever, stopping. And I was like, and I put my foot down and go like this, and I can't. And I look down and I just see it's hamburger meat. And I'm going. So I knew at that minute, I said, my carotid is exposed. I got about 3 to 5 minutes, and I'm gonna bleed out. My ticket's punched. I'm done. So I go to take off my belt. I go to put my belt on.
You made a tourniquet yourself.
Yeah. So then a dude comes running up. Dude, we ended up becoming friends afterwards. This guy named Anthony, he comes running up, and I look up from the ground and I see that he's wearing cargo shorts with like a canvas style belt. A lot easier to do a tourniquet with. And he's like, what can I do to help? And I said, take off your belt, give it to me, I need it. And he's like, okay, he takes it off right away, gives it to me. And I started wrapping the second tourniquet. Like, this one is gonna be a lot better. So I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm stopping the bleeding. I said, can you help me out?
You this calm.
Oh yeah, bro.
But you know what? A lot of people, you just saved your own life. A lot of people wouldn't even know how to make a tourniquet.
Yeah.
They wouldn't know nothing about it.
At the time, I'm a federal agent. Now I'm a retired federal agent, but we train to stay in the fight no matter what happens. You get stabbed, you stay in the fight. You get shot, you stay in the fight. It's the warrior mentality. You either have it or you don't.
Bro, your training saved your life right
Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, very good friend of mine, John Benjamin Jones, he was my trainer at the time. I'll never forget, one day we're at the gun range and we were going over tourniquets, and he's like talking to us and I'm listening to him. And I was just like so focused on what he was saying, because when someone's passionate about what they do, you appreciate that. They're teaching you. They're a teacher, like a coach. And he's teaching this. And I remember some of the other people weren't paying attention. And I was like, hey guys, get some respect here. Like, this shit can save your life one day. Well, save mine.
Bro, I want to say something. I think that you should start a podcast for everybody, but more for people like you that deal with like, you know, stuff that you have to deal with. Cause I'm pretty sure, you know, it was hard for you to adjust to everything. And look, and like you like one of the most positive people I know and everything. And I'm only saying this from my point of view because I put myself in other people's shoes. I like to think that I'm a positive person, but if I would have lost a limb or something like that, my career would have been over, and I don't think I would have been as positive. I probably would have went back home to my hometown and just caved myself into like a little dark hole and just played video games for the rest of my life and turned to like some big fat slob. But you're very successful. You know, open up gyms, and every time I talk to you, we joke around, we laugh and everything. You know, like you just handle it way better than I would. I don't know about other people, but I think that you're such a great talker, and you're a motivator. You motivate a lot of people. I think you should start your own podcast.
Well, thank you. I will. As a matter of fact, I had this idea. You know, a lot of people have told me a lot of people come to me for advice. Being in the industry that I'm in, I'm a lot older than everybody. I'm 52 years old. Most of the guys in my industry are like in their 20s, early 30s.
What's that, male stripping?
Yeah. So, so a lot of times they'll come to me and they'll ask me something like, oh yeah, you know, I don't know what to do. My girl's da-da-da-da, or I don't know what to do about this. And I'll give them advice and blah, blah, blah. But what I try to do is show them how, like, hey, I'm going to ask you questions. So you're going to come up with your own advice by answering these following questions. Because you give somebody the answer, they're like, whatever. There's no value in it. Yeah. But when they come up with themselves, they're like, oh shit, a lot different. So a lot of people have told me that. They're like, you're good at speaking to people. You're good at solving problems. You're good at this. You're good at that. Why don't you do a podcast? And I would joke around and I would sit there and say, I'm too offensive for a podcast. I'll be canceled in the month. I said, because one thing, I'm a very direct person, and a lot of people can't take that. Because if I'll call a spade, you're up, I'll be like, you're up. And some people, they don't want to hear that. They want to be like, oh, you gotta lift them up. You gotta inspire them. Oh, you. It's not always about that. Sometimes it's getting your face, get the message across.
Right.
And so a friend of mine's like, bro, they want that shit right now. You're real. And I'm like, oh, as long as I can cuss, I'll do it. Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna do it. You know, I told Paco, my partner, I said, let's do a Live Alpha podcast. And what I want to do is I want to be able to talk about anything. You want to talk about relationships, you want to talk about, you know, fitness, you want to talk about anything that I can be of value to and I can help. I would love to help.
Bro, you know I love that name too, and I'll probably be one of your biggest fans of your podcast. Live Alpha. I like that.
I'm going to have you on my podcast.
Oh, I'm down. I'm down.
Yeah.
I think your podcast would be a big hit. My thing, I was kind of like skeptical about doing a podcast because I felt like it was oversaturated, but somebody told me like, but everybody ain't you.
True that.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody ain't you. I think the world, it was so sensitive. People were getting so offended and the cancel culture, and I think people waking up and people are tired of that.
I would hope so. I'm super tired of it.
I'm tired of it.
Man, am I tired of it. So yeah, I agree with you. And that's a very good point because that was exactly the conversation that I had. I said, everyone does a fucking podcast. And that someone told me that. Yeah, but not everybody's fucking you, Tank. And I was like, huh.
Oh, that's your nickname, Tank?
Tank, yeah. Yeah, I got that nickname. My first job ever, I worked for the U.S. Marshals. This was in 1993. And I'm 21 years old, right? So back then, I was a Gracie student. Hoist Gracie was my first jiu-jitsu instructor. This was before UFC, okay? This was back in the day. So
you trained with Hoist Gracie before he went to the UFC?
Yeah. Let's put it this way. I was training with Hoist when he was doing the UFCs.
Wow.
Yeah, like when Big John McCarthy would come in and work with him because Big John, 275 pounds, and he was an LAPD tax instructor. So he would come into Torrance and, you know, work with them. And I was a big bodied guy. They would ask me, hey, can you roll? Give them. I'm like, yeah. So I'll just go and try to smash them as much as I can because after the first UFC, they noticed, remember when he fought Kimbo Slice and Kimbo was just smashing him the whole time?
Yeah.
So after that, they were we're going to change our game. We need guys to just smash Hoist so he can get used to it. Man, I happily volunteered. Hoist was my instructor. So yeah, he was my first instructor. I trained with Hoist for like, let's see, I trained with Hoist like 92, 93, and then maybe 94. Yeah, no, 95 I stopped because I had a really bad neck injury, so I stopped going. And then I met Francisco in 97, and then I started training with Francisco Bueno in like 97, 98, 99. So around the time I met you, in the early 2000s, I was ready full blast with Francisco because Francisco didn't have a problem teaching me everything. I noticed that when I was at the other place, I was like, hey, teach me this. And the Brazilians love keeping shit their thing.
I've heard that.
Oh, yeah. They were gatekeepers like a especially at the beginning, you know? But what I didn't like, they would say things like, well, if you want that, you got to pay for a private. I'm like, oh, yourself, you know, I'm already paying for a lot of money for classes and I'm asking a question. You know how to answer it? I need a private for that? Out of here.
Yeah.
So I started becoming disillusioned because I started seeing how it started turning into a corporation everything just became money. And I'm like, cool, no problem. I got hurt. It was easy for me to, I'm gonna take a step back. I'm not gonna train for a minute. And that's around the time I met Francisco and I started training with Francisco. And then I became Francisco's boy because I started training Francisco on the first day. I'm getting my ass handed to me by his students. But I was like, let's go, tap out, let's go, tap out, let's go. I'm one of those individuals that if you start beating me, I'm gonna come back stronger until the point you don't beat me no more. And if I can beat you, great. But I'm gonna prove that you're not gonna beat me for forever. I will not lose. That's people tell me, they're like, why is it that you're able to come back from what you came back from? It's like real simple, man. I will not lose. That's my philosophy. Call it my mantra, call it my, I don't know, my 4 words. But I always say to myself, at the end of the day, I will not lose.
Wow, that's a great mindset to have, bro. I like that. Me being a fighter, I like mindsets like that. But so you saying Francisco Bueno, he wouldn't like gatekeep the knowledge?
No, he was like, you want to learn? I'm going to teach you.
That's good, man.
And Francisco, Francisco was a jiu-jitsu guy who spent time in Japan. He wanted to learn judo so he can incorporate judo into the jiu-jitsu. And so he trained with Meiji, a very famous judo guy in Japan. Francisco literally cleaned his bathroom, slept on a mattress. And Francisco's not a person that does this. He comes from a very well-to-do family. But he was like, no, I'm going to learn. This is how you're going to teach me? I'm going to do everything you teach me to do. So he spent I think it was like 2 years he spent in Japan. I know 1 year for sure, but he said on and off too. But he came back. So he taught me what he calls the 5 sequences. And that's Francisco's signature move. And that's the move I became very, very good at. And like I would tell people in jiu-jitsu, a lot of people think because you know 1,000 moves that you're great. No, just know 5 great moves and you're unbeatable.
Wow.
You won't lose.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's just that, and that was Francisco's philosophy. That's how he taught me. I was very, very good. I was good. I'm great at the basics. I'm so good at it. I'll do it all. I'll even tell you, hey, I'm doing this. Hey, I'm gonna do a triangle choke to you right now. So get ready for it. And you're preparing for it. But I'm still working. I'm gonna grab it because that's what I'm good at.
I wish I would have got a little bit better at jiu-jitsu, but I never loved it like I loved all the other martial arts.
You know when I met you, you know what my impression of you was?
What?
Like you were fascinated. I remember one day I was working with Tito and I was telling Tito, because Tito was wanting to use his strength for everything. And I'm like, Tito, don't have to, bro. I'm like, when you're doing jiu-jitsu and you're on your back, you're gonna do an armbar, you're using strength to pull. I go, you don't have to. I go, real simple, bro. Knock the person's center of gravity off. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, his center of gravity's right here. Knock the weight this way. Watch what happens. And I taught him that, real simple. And he was like, oh, that was simple. I said, bro, jiu-jitsu's simple. And he was like, wow. I said, it's not always strength. I go, that's the beauty of jiu-jitsu. It's leverage, it's technique, and so forth, you know? And that was the one thing that I was kind of proud of myself. Oh, I taught him this. But the one thing, my impression, I was like, these guys are animals. You teach them a few finishing moves, and with their skills, get the out of here. It's going to be unstoppable. And especially you, because I was just like, he's a dog. Like, he wants to get down. Like, I want him to be my friend. I want him to be my backup. Because I just thought, like I said, I was impressed by you, your character, because you were hungry. You know?
I remember those days. I was real hungry. I was like always in the gym, you know, because I sacrificed everything. I left my family, my job, my car, and I moved out to California. I moved to Huntington Beach. Yeah. And I was like, you know, I'm going to be a fighter. I'm gonna give it a try.
I remember one time that I was like, I go, Walker has a heart, because I said something to you, and you're like, I said, oh, what do you miss about home? And I think you said something like, miss my grandma. And I was just like, and that was so real that coming from you, I was like, oh, he got a soft side.
Oh, yeah.
he may not show it, but he definitely got a soft side.
That's the main reason why I wanted to be a fighter and earn a living was for my family. I didn't know that MMA was going to get as big as it is now, and it was going to be as lucrative as it is as a sport. But I figured that I could make more money than doing construction like the rest of my family, because all my family own construction companies, and that's what they do back home.
By the way, I don't know if I ever told you this. I'm also part owner of a construction company.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, so if you ever need construction, good way to plug it up right now. Black Label Building, hit us up for all your construction needs.
Real talk, because I'm shopping for a house right now. What kind of construction y'all
We do everything.
Like what, remodeling and all this stuff?
Everything. If I can still show you our portfolio of what we do. We do everything from remodeling to building. Right now, we're literally in San Juan Capistrano leveling up a house that's sliding down a hill. It's moved about 4 inches already, and we're leveling it up with pillars. And we do everything.
You guys can build a pool and stuff?
Everything.
You give me a hookup?
Come on.
I help plug it. Man,
Come on.
Bro, I want to look at
Come
the
on.
house. Man, I looked at the house today before I got here, and I was just telling him, like the house is okay, but I want a bigger, like, master bedroom, and the pool from the picture looked big, and I got there, it's like a jacuzzi. The house that I'm looking, and the area that I'm looking, and the price range that I want, it's really hard for me to find. So I figure, like, man, I'm gonna have to buy something and remodel it.
That's my plan, and this is something I even told my wife. I said, hey, look, I said, I have a couple things cooking with like investments and stuff. I said, they're starting to pay off now. I said, and my goal was, the goal I set for myself, I was like, I don't want to, especially with interest rates the way they are. I said,
it's crazy.
I said, so I'm going to pay cash for a house. I said, so I got to put $1 million away just so I can buy a house. But what I'm going to do is I'm starting to look in the neighborhoods that I want to look in. I'm looking for the ugliest, shittiest, nastiest house I can find in the best neighborhood I can afford. And then I'm going to build my own thing my way.
Yeah, you're going to level it, you're going to tear it whole down, or just keep one wall up?
I might keep on, it depends on the bones of the house and how it looks, but I told her, I go, for sure, I'm going to tell you what we need. 3 bedrooms plus a master suite. I said, that's what I need. I go, anything else I can work with. I'm not doing second story. I'm not doing split level. I said, I'm not doing anything with stairs because my crippled ass don't like walking upstairs. I said, so this is what we're going to do. I said, I don't have to be a big 10,000 square foot house. I said, nah, I like small, cozy places, but with nice property. I said, so this is what I'm gonna start looking now. I said, and that's the goal. But yeah, bro, when you're ready, you dream it, I'll build it for you. That I promise you. You tell me how you want it, I'll be like, it's gonna be like this. This is how I'm gonna save you money. This is how you're gonna save money. Da, 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 da. Oh, come on, Rampage.
Yeah, man, I'm down, because I'm looking right now. I just sold my house in Irvine because my divorce is finally final and everything. So she had to get my shit, because I've been taking care of her for like 19 years. Everything, paying everything for 19 years. And my youngest kid with her is 17. So, my daughter, I told her, like, look, whatever you want, just hit me up. Like, I don't want to give your mom shit. Only because she went to court and lied on me, bro.
Oh.
Yeah.
I know that one.
Yeah. This your first time being married, right?
Well, no. I have a son from a previous relationship who's 17 now. And unfortunately, I don't get along with his mother. I don't. We don't even talk at all. Like, it's gotten to the point where I don't even bother talking to her. Like, hey, text me if there's a meeting I got to be there for. Otherwise, I don't care to talk to you. She tries to talk to me. I ignore her. I'm like, you don't get it. I told her one time, I go, you're a vindictive person and you're evil. I wouldn't even want you as a friend. I have to maintain communication with you because you're my son's mother. But that's about as far as it's going to go.
Bro, it's very unfortunate. I can talk about this for days. It's very unfortunate. I have trust issues with women, and I grew up with my mom, my sister, and they were like feminist men haters. My sister was, she was a cool sister, but then when she got to a certain age, and so I'm like, I don't want no woman like that. And people think that I only like Asian women, but it's not true. I like all women.
Asian women are more submissive.
Yeah,
and it's a culture thing.
It's a culture thing.
A lot of people don't understand that.
They don't understand.
If I say it, I'm being racist, but I'm like, just look at the statistics.
Yeah,
men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Right. Jay-Z taught me that. So I say there's a reason why certain cultures have the lowest number of married women. Asian culture, very, very high.
Yeah, black culture,
that's the lowest.
It's the low. I know. It's
25%, 24%. One in 4 black women will marry.
And they won't get married because it's like their mom raised them to be independent, strong black women, and men typically we really don't like that. So what I did was, since I was fighting in Japan, I met this woman in Japan, and at the time I was a single parent, and I hate to say this, but it's the truth. I was dating 5 girls at one time to see who I was going to marry, because I needed I needed help with my oldest son because I'm fighting in Japan and being the mom and the dad.
Which one's your oldest? Is it Raja?
No, Roger's my second oldest.
Okay.
Yeah, D'Angelo is my oldest.
First oldest, okay.
He's my first. I became a parent overnight. I got him when he was 3 years old.
Oh shit!
And I was
Surprise.
Yeah, and then shortly after I got him, I started fighting in Pride. I had to make more money because before that I was just only making like $500. So I met this Japanese girl, and I was dating this Hawaiian girl and this other girl. And the Hawaiian girl, she was good, but she was very argumentative, and she was like manipulative, trying to manipulate. And I'm like, she's very beautiful, could sing, tick all the other boxes. But I'm like, no, we're gonna argue and stuff too much. So I started dating this Japanese girl, and we never argued, bro. And she treated me good, and she put her whole life on hold and moved to America to take care of me because she was in the crowd when I fought Vanderlei for the belt, and I was winning. I got knocked out.
I remember that fight, man.
If I would have won, I would have been the youngest MMA champion.
I remember that.
Yeah, and so
I was really feeling that one, man.
Thank you, bro. So she told me, she was like, if you had help with your son, you could have been champion. So she had a nice job, and she comes from like a well-to-do family, and she left all that, and she became a housewife. I used to come home from the gym, my food would be ready, my bath water would be ready. She would help me take my clothes off, help me get in the bathtub, wash me, dry me off, put my clothes back on.
People think when they hear that, they're like, you were just taking advantage. No, you were being taken care of.
Yeah.
You were a fighter. You were putting your body, everything on the line. She was taking care of you. That is a great foundation for.
Right.
Look, Rampage, my wife, is the same thing. When I met my wife, look, people don't know this. I met my wife in January and married her in March.
Yeah, when you know, you know.
I wasn't playing because one thing for sure, when I met my wife, I knew she was different. I could tell when the first couple of days, I go, this one's different. What blew me away was how helpful she wanted to be with me. And at first I was like, this is for a reason. There's an ulterior motive. No, this is how she was raised. She was raised to be a wife. The problem with the culture here in the United States, this is just what I've learned. Our dating culture now, we've become a culture where everybody wants to be equal, and we're not.
Right.
There's nothing equal about us.
No.
Okay? And they come out with this whole equal thing, and I'm like, look, there's reasons why you're more beneficial, and there's reasons why I am.
100%.
Like, we get these great strengths, we put them together, we make an amazing package. My wife was the first woman that came into my life that showed me that she could be fit, feminine, cooperative, to the highest degree that I was like, oh, wow, I'm not letting you go. And people laugh at me. They're like, hey, is it true your wife, does this for you? And I say, yeah. I said, my wife does this, my wife does that. And they're like, she does everything for you. I said, yeah. I go, guess what? I said, I do the same for her. And they're like, oh, I go, and that's the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
This whole equality bullshit is dumb.
I don't know why they pushing that so strong, so hard, and they got these women delusional thinking that, we should be equal. Equal means the same.
Do you want to know why I think they're doing it? I think there's been an effort to feminize our society for the last, especially 10 years, has gotten really, really strong. Gotten really, really strong. Part of it's that whole woke movement that just picked up too much steam, and now there's too many people. I say people like this, hey, you live your life however you want to live it. I don't give a shit. As long as you're happy, who gives a shit? Just don't force your values on me. We'll get along great.
Right.
Now, before, I remember watching TV, watching movies, and I'm like, oh yeah, I could see that happening to me because that's something that happens in real life. Now you watch TV, it's the whole woke agenda. There's got to be a minority. There's got to be a lesbian. There's got to be a gay person. There's got to be a sad person. There's got to be a person with mental health issues. And it's like, Jesus Christ, now you're just trying to fit. You're trying to put things together so everything's so inclusive. Like, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's garbage.
Yeah. I sometimes, I kind of wish we would go back to like how it used to be, and it seems like everything was easier and we were happier. And right now it's like, I don't do politics. I don't do religion. I don't do none of that stuff. 'Cause I feel like that's another way to divide us.
It absolutely
That's why,
is.
I don't like it.
I tell people like this. People ask me like, hey, who are you voting for? And I'm like, hey, let me ask you a question. If I tell you, you're going to get offended? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm not telling you. I said, if you're going to ask me who I'm voting for because you want to have a discourse about why you think I should or I shouldn't, cool. I said, but if you're going to start right away with, I can't be your friend because you're voting for this person. Like, yeah, you're a idiot.
Yeah.
I don't need you as a friend.
Bro, that shit divided our country. I remember one time I was scrolling on Facebook years ago. That's when Donald Trump first got in office, and somebody said, if you're voting for Donald Trump, unfollow me right now. And they said, I don't care if you're my family member.
Wow.
And they seemed like they were serious. I was like, that's when I learned, like, wow, this is serious. Yeah, like, it's we are a country, this is America. We all made up of all different cultures and everything. Like everybody's how boring would the world be if
everything was the same? Imagine vanilla. Boring as fuck.
And so people want that?
I tell people like this. I said, you're really going to sit there and you're going to be I said, if you are going to sit there and tell me that you're going to make a choice about our friendship based on a political choice, I said, that tells me, I said, you're a bigger idiot than I thought you were. I said, because their whole purpose is to divide and conquer.
Right.
They already divided you. They're going to come through and just conquer your ass now.
Right.
I said, that's all. You're just giving them permission to do that.
Right. That's what the whole thing is with race, with religion, and that's why I don't play into. I'm always neutral. People think that, it's like I don't care. It's not that I don't care. Yeah. It's just that I have this idea of the person that I want to be, and that's the person that I'm going to be. I want to be a person that accepts people for who they are, not what they believe in or what religion they are or what race they are. Like I can care less. Are you a good person or not?
That's it.
That's
all that should matter. Yeah. If you're gonna sit there and judge somebody just by the way they look and they look different, to me that's the biggest, like, you're just limiting yourself because you never know what meeting somebody, what that may lead to.
Right. I judge fat people though because I used to be one.
I saw a gym. I saw a shirt. I was at the Olympia a couple weeks ago in Vegas, and I saw a shirt. And I go, I need to fucking start using that shirt. It said, "Kind of fit, kind of fat," and I was like, "That's me right there." It's like I'm kind of fit because I work out religiously. I love training, but I'm kind of fat because my diet isn't always 100%.
You want to live a happy life, though.
I do, and I do, and I absolutely do. Yeah. People tell me all the time. So this is the joke. They're like, "Have you ever cheated on your wife?" And I'm like, "All the time." And they're like, "You cheat on your wife?" I'm like, "Yeah, my wife's my nutritionist, and she's my meal prep coach." I said, "So sometimes she'll make meals for me." I'm like, "I'm not eating this shit. I'm eating something else." And they just laugh. They're like, "Well, your wife makes all your meals." Going back to the thing about what we were talking about, I said, "Yeah, my wife takes care of me." I said, I lost a lot of weight. I said, I even did a show. I did a bodybuilding show. So I couldn't have done it without my wife's support. My wife is badass. I said, I've never had the kind of support, everything that I have with my wife, even communication, communicating with her. And a lot of people, they tell me, they're like, is it hard because she speaks Portuguese? I said, no. Number one, I know all the Portuguese cuss words. Like my favorite one, I got Rampage, you're going to know this one.
Let's hear it.
My favorite one. Fila de puta arrombado.
I never heard that one.
All right. It's basically what it means. You're not only a son of a bitch, you're a son of a bitch whose ass has been stretched out by getting so much. That's what I love about Portuguese cuss words. It is so descriptive. It's beautiful. Imagine, like, you hear the term "fila de puta arrombada," you're thinking, "Oh, that sounds kind of nice," except the puta part, right? But then you realize what it means. It's so descriptive. It cracks me up.
Those sound like Brazilian fighting words. Like you said that shit to.
Now you understand why a Brazilian fights at the drop of an insult?
Yeah,
that's why.
Man, if somebody told me your mama's a bitch
with a big ass, stretched out ass, big stretched out.
Wide ass.
Anus.
Oh God. Damn, like, yeah, we gotta fight.
You're definitely gonna fight.
Damn. My favorite Portuguese is "uma popozuda." It's something totally mild.
my other favorite was just "métele porrada." Like, what? All else fails, just beat his ass.
Borrada, that means beat.
Borrada means a beat down.
Yeah, I be hearing the Brazilians say that in the fight. I didn't know what.
Métele porrada. Get him.
I just be hearing say, vai.
Borrada.
Borrada.
Yeah. Borrada.
Yeah. Borrada. Yeah. Man, I was going to tell you, I love the Brazilian culture and stuff like that. When I went there, my coach Fabiano took me to this nightclub, and he wanted me to sit at this table. And he showed me the table, I am not lying when I tell you this. It was like
I believe you.
9 girls at this table, and they all were 10s. Yeah. Some of the most beautiful women in the world that I've ever seen. And he was like, yeah, this your table. I was like, bro, I can't sit there.
Yeah. My boy Francisco, he's from, they have a property south of Brazil. Have you ever been to Búzios?
No, I never been.
Okay, Búzios. If you think Brazil is beautiful, go to Búzios. Búzios is paradise. Okay, it's very European. Like in Búzios, let's put it this way. I don't know about now, but back when I was there, there was no building over 2 stories tall, and the reason why they didn't allow that back then was because they wanted to keep things quaint, small, private. Brazilian thing. It's only for Brazilians. It's where the Brazilians go away on the weekends and stuff. So my boy, he had property over there, and this property was a gigantic property that he's since developed. They put an airport there and stuff like that because this town has grown. But he used to have his own private beach with a cabana. Like he could fit 100 people, and we would have our own private parties on the beach. And he would just put the word out like, "Hey, we're in Búzios for the weekend. Come out, we're gonna party," and the word will get out. By that evening, by 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock that night, we would show up at the party. There's 150 people there, and maybe 25 guys, and it was just big party, just having a good time. And I would just look around, and back then, I told Francisco, I go, "Chico," I said, "I'm gonna marry a Brazilian one day." I said, "Either a Brazilian," I said, "or a Japanese woman." And he said, "Why?" I said, "They're most submissive. They don't fight you." I said, "Brazilian culture is a lot like Mexican culture." I said, "I won't go to Mexico because ever since they installed satellite TV in Mexico, now every woman wants to be like the Americans." I said, "Brazilians are not like that yet." I go, "This is still a beautiful place." I go, "It hasn't been corrupted." I go, "That's the beautiful thing about this culture is what I love about it."
Have you ever been to Sao Paulo?
Oh, yeah.
You could have got you a Brazilian Japanese.
My wife is from Sao Paulo.
I love Sao Paulo.
So when I went to Sao Paulo, a friend of mine who was he was actually a federal agent over there. He was all like, when we met, he was like, "You're a federal agent?" I was like, "Yeah." So when I'm in Brazil, he's like, "Hey, come with me. I'm going to show you what my job is like." And I'm like, "All right, let's go." And we get there that night. We go to the police station. I'm meeting everybody. They're treating me like I'm a movie star. "Oh, you're a federal agent? Can I see your badge?" I was showing my credentials. They're like, "Oh, here's your gun." And I'm like, "What do you mean my gun?" "Yeah, we're going to go patrol right now. You need to have a gun on you." I'm like, "Oh, shit, some cowboy action over here." You know?
In Brazil?
In Brazil,
they just
bro.
handed you a gun.
Just handed me a gun. You know how to use it, right? And I was like, we go and they start jamming people up. And I'm just like, whoo, okay.
That's been crazy.
Yeah, crazy as I was like, Sao Paulo's no joke, man. I tell people like this. I said, Sao Paulo is like what New York is to the United States, Sao Paulo is to Brazil.
Oh.
And Rio de Janeiro is like, if I had to, I say like, Rio de Janeiro is like LA. Yeah. I go, because where my boy lived, he lived in a part of Rio called Laranjeiras. And so loosely translated, Laranjeiras means Orange County.
Oh.
It's a nice part of Rio de Janeiro where my boy lived. He actually lived right next to the governor's mansion because I remember from his house, he lived in a penthouse. And every morning I would get up, have my coffee, and I would walk out, and I would see Sugarloaf Mountain and Christ. And I was like, every morning I'm like, I love life. We're going to go train right now.
How much time you was out there? How long you was out there?
I would stay out there like a month at a time.
Oh, wow. You lucky. I was on out there for like a couple weeks.
Oh, man. Yeah. I would come back, and people would say, "Oh, how'd you like Brazil?" And I'm like, "It was great." "Did you go here?" I'm like, "No." "Did you go to Rio? Did you go to Copacabana?" I'm like, "Yeah, no one goes to Copacabana." He's like, "Why not? That's where everybody goes." I said, "That's where all the tourists go, bro." I said,
"I don't do tourist shit."
I didn't do tourist shit. I said, "I go where the locals go." I go, "I'm in Ipanema." I go, "I'm where all of them go." I go, "I'm speaking Portuguese with them." I said, "I'm not." They go, "They treat tourists different over there."
Yeah.
I said, I luckily earned their respect because as much as I was getting my ass kicked by like what they do. It's like at every school, like I would get there and they would line up the blue belts. I would train with them, handle them, no problem. The purple belts, I would handle them, no problem. And Francisco's instructor was a guy named Andres Penederas, and from Nova Union. And when Francisco would leave me, and then I come back, he'd come back, and by that time I'm going against the brown belts. I'm tired, and I go against him. He would just have me in my ass, you know. But I would hear him. He would walk in, and he was like, "Hey, why the fuck you lying?" Francisco goes, "I'm not lying." Because that guy's not a blue belt. Why does he have a blue belt? He goes, he's handling my brown belts. Why is he just a blue belt? And I would hear Francisco say, a belt only holds up the pants for Tom. Doesn't say who he is. I go, and that's what I love about him. He doesn't give a shit about. He's not the Americans like, I want to get promoted. Give me my black belt. He's not, because I never was like that.
Right.
The dudes were like, how long take till I get my black belt? And I'm like,
yeah.
stupid. You're not even trying to learn.
Are you still a blue belt now?
No. That was just back then when I used to do back then. No, when I stopped training with Francisco, I was a purple belt.
Oh wow!
And he tells me, he's like, Tom, you should have been a brown belt. I was like, nah, I like the purple belt. I said, because they don't take you serious, you know.
Yeah.
And like I never had a problem, you know, against whether you're bigger than me, whatever. I could always handle my own.
Tell me about this federal agent. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely.
What kind of job was that? What was that?
So when I medically retired, I was a federal air marshal. And what a federal air marshal does, after 9/11, when they flew the planes into the buildings, President Bush said, I'm going to put undercover agents on planes. We're going to protect the skies. So I signed up for that. At the time, I was with the Department of Justice, and this was like a different Homeland Security, brand new agency. And I was about to leave law enforcement at that time because I was kind of like, I'm bored, I'm tired. And then 9/11 happened, and I was like, oh, shit. And I was one of those individuals that remember watching it from my office because I used to work 6 to 2 back then. I was an intelligence officer. And they called me up, and they were like, hey, a plane just crashed into the World Trade Center. Now, the World Trade Center for us, it was important because they tried to blow it up one day. So I was like, oh, shit, I want to go watch it on TV. And in my mind, I'm like, who the flies a plane accidentally into a building? And I go, this was no accident. And just as I'm watching that, you see the second plane hit, boom. And I remember how I felt. And I was like, Jesus Christ, we're under attack. So when the opportunity came up, yeah, I'm going to sign up. This is what I do. This is why I do it, you know? So I signed up. I became an air marshal, and I moved to Chicago for a while. Then I was able to, you know, come back. But when I had my accident, I had to medically retire as an air marshal. So I used to fly all over the world. I was in undercover capacity. You would see me kind of like this, and I would have my weapon on me, and you wouldn't be able to tell.
Are you just flying on planes? Mm-hmm. Were you just sitting random? You sit first class or just random?
If there's a first class section, let's put it. I tell people like this: we sit at the front of the plane and the back of the plane.
So it'd be two of you guys on there?
Depends. Sometimes there's 4, sometimes there's 6, depending on the type of aircraft we had. You know, so our job was to protect the flight deck. You know, the flight deck in the front. That's where they put us in the front. So I got to meet a lot of interesting people because of that. So one of the flights I used to fly all the time was LA to New York, because New York at the time, and even to this day, is probably our biggest threat. It's our financial capital of this nation. So we covered everything in and out of New York. So flying in New York all the time, you're flying with celebrities left and right. And I would meet these celebrities, and I've never been the type like, oh my God, you're a celebrity, and I'm kiss your ass. I didn't give a shit. I'd talk shit to them, you know, I'd fucking make fun of them.
And they like you. They like you because of that.
They absolutely would.
Yeah.
They absolutely would. I mean, I became friends with Val Kilmer, the actor, because he gets on a flight, and it's funny because when I see them walking him, because he would get especially escorted, he walks up, and I'm like, is that Val Kilmer? I said, watch and see him be sitting next to me. And yeah, I'm in 2, and I walk in, he's in 2A, I'm 2B. So I sit down, I'm like, hey, good morning. He goes, good morning. And I'm a big fan of his. I love all his movies, right? So I put my stuff away and I sit down. And at the time, I was wearing a watch. It's called a Panerai. A lot of people don't know about the Panerai.
I know about the Panerai.
Because you're a watch guy.
Yeah, I used to have one. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm a big watch guy. Yeah. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like this, and this guy walks by. He's standing up. Everybody's walking on the plane. He looks down. He goes, hey, nice Panerai. I look up at him. Look, he's wearing one. I was like, hey, you got a nice one too. And then Val Kilmer goes, hey, I got one too. I looked at him, and I said, well, let's join a club. Let's start a club. And then he goes, but you have the one I really want. Because I had the Sylvester Stallone model, the one Sly made famous because he gave all his friends. It was the Pam 250. So I had that one. So he goes, you have the one that I want. And I'm like, relax, bro. I said, I know you used to people giving you shit all the time for free because you're famous and you're cute. I said, but I just met you, man. Take me to dinner at least first. And he didn't
know how to react.
He didn't know how to react. He was like, he goes, no, I'm not saying it because I want to go, bro, relax, chill out, I'm just busting your balls, Val. I'm like, bro, if you're going to be like this, we got 6 hours of this shit, man. You better get comfortable, bro. And then he was like, oh, you know, whatever. And then I said, hey, bro, around. I got to apologize. I said, kind of like what I was doing with you, you know?
Yeah. I knew it. I like it.
And so I looked at him and I said, hey, I go, hey, I apologize. I said, I'm going to leave you alone. I respect your privacy. I said, but I do have to tell you that you are one of my, because he is. I go, you are one of my favorite actors. I go, and I think it's a shame that you're not considered in the top 3 greatest of all time. I go, there's a group of 3 that are never mentioned that should be in that pantheon up there. He goes, what do you mean? I go, we don't talk about great actors. You talk about De Niro, you know, they talk about Pacino, Denzel. I said, nobody talks about you. And he was like, you think so? I go, bro, you crushed every fucking role you're in. I started going down the list of movies. And when I got to Heat, I go, now Heat. I go, my fucking favorite. I go, I used that line to get out of trouble so many times. He's like, what do you mean? I said, look, I'm in a relationship with this girl. Am I going to marry her? No. I said, but when she sits there and says to me, hey, do you take me serious? Like, do I matter to you? Is this relationship going anywhere? I said, I would channel my Val Kilmer and I would look at her and I would sit there and say, my sun rises and sets with you. And he was like, ooh. And I was like, it worked great, man. She was like, oh, okay, babe. And it was cool. Like everything was fine. So he starts laughing. We ended up bullshitting. We become friends. He invites me to it. He's like, hey, I'm doing a show called Mark Twain. Come and see it. I was like, sure. So then he tells me, he goes, you know, he says, I'm really good. Because I tell him, I said, you know, Val, I do need to ask you something. I said, there's a scene in Heat where you walk out, and I described the scene. Now, you come out, blah, 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 blah. I said, as soon as you saw the cops, you pick up your M4, and you started going at it. You went, I go, you hit your 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I go, and then you did a magazine exchange. You went over and hit your 6 o'clock with the magazine exchange. You started hitting your back. I said, he was like, he looked at me. I said, who taught you that? And he goes, what? I said, that's not a Hollywood trained move, bro. I said, that's a tactics move. I said, who taught you that? And then he tells me, he says, I got a buddy who's retired FBI, SWAT. He taught me these moves and blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, that's some sweet tactic moves. He goes, how do you know about that? And I was like, I don't want to give away my position of who I am, right?
Yeah,
because I'm undercover.
Yeah,
and I was like, I used to do competition shooting, you know? So I was like, whew.
You didn't blow your cover.
I didn't blow my cover. And he goes like this. He goes, you know, he taught me how to figure out who the cops are on the planes. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, there's cops in the planes. I was like, no, where? And he starts looking around and he's like, he points to my partner. He goes, he looks like one. And he looks back at another guy and he goes, he looks like the other one. I look back and I go, that other guy back there, he does look suspicious. We're bullshitting, whatever. As the flight goes on, he invites me. We exchange information. He's like, I want to hang out with you, bro. You're a cool dude. I'm like, yeah, let's hang out. And I was like, you know what, Val, I got to tell you. I said, I can't start a friendship off on a lie. He's like, what are you lying about? I go, the whole part about the cops on the plane? Yeah, that's me. He's like, bullshit. So I was like, and I used to carry my badge right here and I pull it out. I'm like, and he was like, no way. And I was like, yeah. He goes, bro, I couldn't tell, man. He goes, you're good undercover. And I was like, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I take pride in that, you know? I go, that dude is my partner. But this is we were already landing already.
Yeah, so
this time the threat's over, you know, so I wasn't worried anymore.
Yeah,
but he was like, bro, he goes, you're about ass. Like, he goes, I would have never guessed that you were the cop. And I was like, well, I don't carry myself like a cop. I said, luckily I grew up very hood.
Wow. But you don't get in trouble for blowing your cover at the end of the flight.
No, the flight's over, you know? And, you know, one time we had an emergency. We were flying back from New York and like halfway through the flight, we're like over Iowa. And I get a report that there's an unknown white substance in one of their labs. So I'm the OIC on the mission. So I tell my partner, go back there, check it out, get on the phone, call me, let me know what's going on. He calls me because there's a lot of white powder back here. And I said,
on
cool.
the plane?
In the bathroom.
Oh, shit.
Okay. And I was like, what the? So at the time, we knew that there's a powder called TATP. When you add water to it, it becomes explosive. It's liquid explosives. So I didn't know if that's what we were dealing with. So I get on my laptop and jump on the internet and get in touch with my bomb guys, start describing what's happening. Because we have dedicated bomb guys that respond emergency with our satellite phones and shit. So I get on, I start talking, communicating with them. Hey, this is what we have, blah, blah, blah. Make a long story short, by the time we were landing in LAX, I had to treat the flight as a threat because if it's liquid explosive, they could use a phone to activate. Once you get below 10,000 feet, cell signals pick up, the cell towers pick up phones, and then that can happen, right? So once we started the descent, I was in the galley the whole time. At this time, I had to come out, took my badge out, and I just said, hey, told the captain, give this speech. I said, anybody pulls a phone out, you're going to be treated as a threat. I said, do not use a phone. And I stood there with my badge, and I was just everybody. And my partner was on the flight too. We were just fucking doing this the whole time. We landed. They take us to the far side of the airport. You know, they had the cavalry waiting for us. FBI, DEA, Customs. I mean, Lawa PD. Everybody was there to figure out what's going on. Could not figure out what the powder was. We thought at one point, I go, maybe it's baby powder. When DEA was right there, I go, maybe it's cocaine or some shit. I don't know. And
they tested it.
The report, I checked a week later. I said, has a report came back what that was? They're like, nope, we don't know what it is. It was just an unknown substance.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, but when that happened, that was the only time I ever came out of cover. And I said, hey, blah, blah, blah. When I was in, most of the people, they were scared, but once we landed and everybody was getting off the plane, I'm still standing right there. Everybody was like, hey, thank you. Hey, appreciate it. Da-da-da. I was like, oh, cool. And they were like, hey, you're a nice guy. You just look mean.
see, me, I don't know if I could be an air marshal like that because I'd be trying the stewards and try to get them to blow something else. Not my club. I always want to join the Mile High Club.
Hey, true story. That shit almost happened to me, but I wasn't an air marshal. It was my first time flying to Brazil. And my first time flying to Brazil, we're taking the 6 o'clock flight out of LAX. And it's myself, Francisco Bueno, a couple of other guys, these fighters we're going to Brazil. And we're on the flight and we had like different seats. Okay. And when they brought the alcohol cart out, I had a few Jack and Cokes and I was like, oh, it's party time now. So I started bullshitting with people and started like, I'm very, I'm sociable. Yeah. So I started having a little party in the back. And then people were like, hey, can you kind of keep it down? So I was like, oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I know you're trying to sleep because everybody's trying to sleep. So what I was doing, people that were in the front that were hanging out with us, I'm like, what seat are you in? Can we switch you? Yeah. I started switching people in their seats. I'm like, hey, there's a seat in the front, midway. I go, if you want to go to sleep and go back there, you sure? I'm like, yeah, this seat number, go. I would walk them, sit them down. All right, have a good night. I'd walk back. This is your new seat now. I had a party in the back of the plane, okay? The back of the plane's going. I had about five people back there that were not part of the flight. I had the flight crew back there. I started bullshitting with the flight crew. I was flirting with this one girl, and she was like, are you sure you're not Brazilian? I have the short hair and everything. She's, you look like a Brazilian. You look like a Brazilian fighter. And I was like, well, I'm a fighter. I said, I'm more of a lover around, the way I am. So then I hear her say something in Portuguese, and basically she said to the girl, she was like, man, I want to take him into the bathroom right now. And I said, let's go. And she was like, for reals? And I said, yeah, come on, no one's going to notice. Let's go. So we went in there, and then she was like, I can lose my job. As soon as she said that, I was like, nah, I don't want you to lose your job. Yeah, whatever. But you get out.
Like, no, I'll give you a job.
I'll give you a job.
You give me a job.
Different kind of job.
Yeah, I always wanted to do I always wanted to be in the Mile High, but I don't got the balls to do it. I'd be too shy. Like people see me and the girl come out of the bathroom. Yeah, I can see that. You're really shy, Rampage. Yeah, I'm shy.
Liar.
Bro, I'm shy when I get around people I don't know. It's the weirdest thing.
You know what? That's who you are. Yeah. You're like that. Yeah. But once someone gets to know you, you're just like, you don't give a shit.
Yeah, I don't give a shit once people get to know me.
But I never did that when I was flying. I never did that. And I've had girls offer me, like, hey, what are you doing later? Let's get together. And I'm the type, if I'm in a relationship, I don't fuck around. That's just how I am. So the one time that it happened where I saved this girl's ass, there was this drunk dude. He was like giving her a hard time. And I noticed what was happening. And I was like, So I get up and I walk to the front, use the restroom. I come out. I look at her. I'm like, is dumbass still giving you a hard time? She says, yeah. And I said, call him up here. Tell him that his drink is waiting for him right here.
She was a stewardess.
Yeah. So she goes and grabs him. And when the dude gets up, I didn't realize he was big. Like, I knew he was big because he was sitting down, but he was like 6'7" big. Damn. And I was like, shit. Here my little 5'10" ass is trying to intimidate a 6'7" guy. So as soon as he comes around the corner, this time I had my badge out already and I had my credentials. And as soon as he turned around the corner, I literally grabbed him from his chest and I pushed him against the wall. And the skin of the aircraft, it's like this, right? Yeah. So he was like bending over and I had my creds in his face. I'm looking up at him. I'm like, hey, you're gonna sit down, you're gonna shut the up. And I go, if not, you're going to spend the weekend in jail, and you'll be lucky if you get out Tuesday. It was Friday morning. You're going to be lucky if you get out by Tuesday. You understand me? He goes, yes, sir. I'm going to shut your ass up, but after you apologize, you're going to shut your ass up and sit down on one fucking word out of you. Yes, sir. He went and sat down. I'm sorry. Put his seatbelt on. Within 3 minutes, he was asleep, right? She was like, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Here's my number. Where are you staying at tonight? Da, 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 da. And I was like, man, this is a fucking slam dunk right here. But I was like, hey, nah, I'm in a relationship, blah, blah, blah. So I don't do this.
So if you have a girlfriend, you won't cheat?
Nah, I just dump her. Be like,
Hey, bro, you're a good man because I cheat on my girlfriends. I won't cheat on my wife, but I cheat on my girlfriend.
Nah, I honestly, I'm just not the type.
Well, see, that's good that you like that. But me, it's, you know what I'm saying? If somebody offered me some more money, I ain't going to say, hey, I got a job.
No, that's true.
I'm going to, you know, girl come up and be like, damn, you know.
And I think that's why also, well, Rampage, I didn't get married till I was 49 years old, bro.
Oh, wow.
You know, I got married once when I was very young, and that was a mistake I made. I was 25 years old. I lasted 1 year married. And
that's my story.
hey, bro, I'm gonna tell you something. My story it's funny, and I'm gonna tell you why. So, I'm 24 years old. I'm getting married. I'm thinking that's what we have to do, right? I started my career. We get married. You have a family. You have kids. This is what I thought you do. And so, at the time, it was like 6 months away from the wedding. One day, I'm at 7-Eleven. Back then, they used to have this thing called the photo buys, where you used to like look at cars for sale, whatever. You pay for like $1. You remember that shit?
Yeah, I know you.
So I would buy the cycle trader because at the time I wanted to get into motorcycles.
Yeah.
So I'm doing this. I'm looking. I would bet the photo buys, the cycle trader. And one day my ex-fiance, my wife, she goes, look at me. She goes, hey, what are you doing? I said, looking at the cycle trader. She goes, why? I want to buy a Harley. And she was like, you think right now is a good time to get a Harley? And I'm like, what do you mean? So we got the wedding. We have expenses. We got this. We got that. She goes, why don't you wait till after the wedding? Everything's cool, paid off. Then we'll go start looking for a Harley. I'm like, this is that bullshit thing they call compromise. I'll do it. So I said, cool. All right. Fast forward 6 months. We're a week before the wedding. And I'm like, cool. Everything paid off. I'm straight. I got this much money. This much I have to look for a Harley. Pick up cycle trader. I started looking, start circling shit. She comes up. She's like, what are you doing? I said, looking for a motorcycle. She goes, why? I'm like, we had this conversation. I'm like, what do you mean, why? She goes, yeah. And I said, because. I said, da-da-da-da. She goes, oh, no, Tomas. She goes, it's not your life anymore. It's our life. I was like, oh, hell no. What the f-? I was like, no. I go, don't start this shit. And she was like, no, motorcycles are dangerous. Whatever. Looking back, she was right. But I won't tell her that.
Hell no.
Fuck no. So I was like, what do you mean they're dangerous? Yeah, da-da-da-da. And I was like, well, so I literally went into the wedding like, man, I'll give this a few months, try. It doesn't work, I'm fucking out. Because I already paid for this bitch.
Yeah, you went there with the
wrong attitude, totally wrong mentality. Wow. So when I got divorced, I literally spent 20 plus years single because I was like, nah, I'm not going to put up with bullshit. I'm not. I wouldn't even say I came close a few times. Girls I took serious that I was like, you're somebody I would marry, you know? Unfortunately, I said it like this. One time after we broke up, one of my exes, her sister goes, why didn't you ever marry my sister? Thought you were in love with her. I said, I was. She goes, why didn't you marry her? I go, she didn't earn it.
Right.
She goes, what do you mean? I said, for the simple fact you don't even know what that means. I go, that's the reason why she didn't know what it meant either. I go, she thought she was the prize the whole entire time.
Exactly.
I
think that, bro.
And it's not.
Bro,
I said, and I go, that was my fault for leading her to believe that she was and not correcting her from the very fucking beginning. I said, but oh well, it's over. I wish her the best and move on.
This is the thing, like right now, our generation, women say that men, we're afraid of commitment. That's not true. We're not afraid of commitment. We're afraid of losing half our shit and spiraling down into, depression. We hear all the horror stories about people when they get married.
The system is not designed for men. It's not.
It's not. It's
okay,
not fair.
Because if it was, and if they paid attention to science and they paid attention to data, they would realize that children, especially boys raised by single moms versus raised by single dads, they are a lot more successful, confident when they're raised by men. Right. And I tell people this all the time. Only a man can raise a man. Yeah. And all the single moms, no, that's bullshit. No, it's the truth. It's fact.
You're right. But not only that, like when a kid is raised by a man, the boys are a low percentage of going to jail, prison, and the girls are a low percentage of doing OnlyFans and stripping when they have their dad there. And the women, when you're a good father, that's what one of the things the women do to try to hurt you when they get a divorce or when they break up. They try to hurt you with your kids and they try to hurt you financially. But I think that this is the disconnect. This is what I feel. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think the disconnect and why it's so unfair for men when it comes to divorce and everything is the laws and stuff hasn't been updated. Because you remember back in the day, let's say like what in our grandparents' day and stuff like that, women didn't work. So if they problem and the men
they
divorced
went with the men.
Huh?
Who made the money? That's where the kids go.
Right. Right, and so the men, when we get divorced, the men had to pay alimony. We had to pay all this stuff, right? And they get half the house and all this stuff. But
Most
now
of the time
women,
it's the full house.
yeah, exactly. They get the house, right, right. So the women, they didn't have anything. They didn't have no money, right? So now the men still have to take care of them. But now women make just as much or more money as men.
They have not adjusted the laws.
That has not adjusted. So I think am I correct about that?
Absolutely, you're absolutely right.
I think that's the disconnect. Now, if they change that, if they change that, now you heard some stories every now and then with celebrities, like the wife had to pay alimony when she earned more money than the man and everything. You know what I'm saying? You hear about those just like celebrities. Now you hear some,
but they're anecdotes compared to the majority of what always happens. Because the system is not designed to benefit men. It just isn't. You know, that's just a fact.
I think if I ever get married again, I think, like right now I'm 46. I think I probably like 10 years. I'll probably go to like a South American country or something.
People joke about the whole passport bros thing, and I tell people like this. I said, look, my wife is a perfect example of somebody who was raised to be a wife. I go, she was raised and taught how to be a wife. I go, and that's why she's an amazing wife. I go, the culture here in the United States, the girls are not raised to be wives. They're raised to be independent. I said, and then besides that, I said, throw in the fact that they're raised on Disney movies and these romantic comedies. So now they're independent, and it has to look like this. If not, the relationship's not working. They're not feeling it. I go, everything is all about feel now. Nothing is about what needs to be done. I said, feelings are like fucking farts. They come and go. The reason why relationships, I go, if you look at the statistics, 80% of divorces are initiated by women, and they all say the same shit. Well, it's because the man's fault. Yeah, it's usually because the woman can't take accountability for actions.
100%.
Always that.
A woman would destroy their whole family because they're not happy.
Exactly.
And their happiness is be like, oh, he didn't have time for me because he's working. Most of the time he's working.
Women were told they can have it all, and they believed it. When someone told you, Rampage, you can have it all, you knew you had to work for it. Women are hypergamous. They're waiting for the best one to come along that can offer her the most. That's why when people sit there and they say, oh, well, the women's, women, they're there with you. I go, no, they're not. They wait the finish line. They pick the winner. Real fucking simple. Most women, that's the case. You get you a real one that's been with you from day one when you were broke and was broke with you,
man.
keep her.
You keep her.
You build with her.
Oh, yeah.
And if God forbid things don't end right, you take care of her. Hey, man, here's your shit. Here's my shit. We're splitting this, blah, blah, blah. We built it together. Boom. This is how it works.
And I feel like most men don't have a problem with that. Men, we get painted like in a bad light because most women don't they don't set accountability. Like you said.
They never do. Accountability is kryptonite to women.
Yeah, why do you think that is?
I don't know. I can tell you like this. My last relationship, the day that we were like talking, like the last conversation, when it hit me that I was like, Jesus Christ, I wasted all this time with this person, and this was her mentality. But this is what happened. We were talking, and like any other time we would have an argument, and she would sit there and say, okay, I'll take accountability. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, you're taking accountability. Okay. The last conversation, she said, okay, I'll take accountability. She said, even though it's not my fault. And I looked at her and I said, do you know what taking accountability means? She goes, yeah, taking accountability. You say it's your fault. You like so that you can move on. I said, no, you don't get it. I said, when you take accountability, you own everything. I said, you don't just own what you did. You own my reaction to what you did. I said, you got upset because of this and you left, not understanding what the situation was. And you get mad at me for not telling you to hurry up and come back. I go, and I've told you from the very beginning, when you leave, I'm going to let you leave. I'm never going to beg for you to stay. I said, you need a guy that's going to beg you to stay. I'm not that guy.
Right.
I said, and when you just proved to me that every single time that you told me you took accountability, you weren't. And I go, honestly, I just can't believe I wasted so much time believing this. I said, so you know what? I wish you the best. I said, I wish you all the happiness in the world. And I said, she got pissed off and left, and I'm driving away, and she calls me. She's like, come back. And I was like, no, I'm good. I was like, at this point, I was good. I was like, Jesus, man, I go, I can't believe I was this whole time with someone who doesn't even know what accountability is.
Bro, you'd be surprised. I was dating this one girl. I thought that she was very good looking. She ticked a lot of boxes, but she was very argumentative. She didn't start off that way, and I can't. I'm the type of person I shouldn't argue in a relationship, right? Sex was great. I'm talking about great sex. It was like up there with like top 1 or 2.
No, she was crazy then.
Yeah. Crazy.
The crazy ones are
The best in the bed, bro. And so that was
they won't have you thinking about them even when they're not around. Right. I miss her.
Yeah. And I kept going back honestly because of the sex. But other than that, it was good. But the thing is, no accountability because when she would piss me off, and for one thing that fucks me up in a relationship is when we're in like a discussion or argument and she cuts me off and I can't get my thoughts out, right? And that's
or
my
they
pet
continually
peeve.
interrupt you while you're talking.
Yeah, that's my pet peeve in a relationship, right? And I tried to make that clear to her. And the first time she do it, I said, "Stop cutting me off." Second time I said, "Oh, you cutting me off again." I have the system because I'm used to it. Most women do that; they cut you off. Third time, I was like, "Can you please stop cutting me off?" And then like the fourth, fifth time, like, "Shut the fuck up." Then that's
how dare you talk to me like that?
Yeah,
it's your fault. You're mean.
Yeah. Then everything focused on my reaction. I was like, so you trying to say I'm just an asshole for no reason? I said, that's not even my character. So the whole argument would be about me being an asshole. And I had to sit her down and talk to her one day. I said, listen, you need counseling because she wanted to get married. I'm like, I can't marry a woman like you because the type of person that I am, we always be arguing and stuff like that, and I don't know where it would go. You know what I'm saying? I just can't do it.
When women are in their strong masculine energy and they'll interrupt you and they'll and you're just like, dude, let me talk. And they will never sit there and say, hey, look, you snapped at me. You told me to shut the fuck up, but I was not shutting the fuck up. And
Right.
you told me the 3 previous times nicely.
Right.
Instead, they'll pay attention to the one time you said shut the
That was the big problem. And so I think I got to her one day because I was at a point in my life where I'm like, I'm not even gonna stoop to her level and argue because she likes arguing. I said, look, you want to get married, you want to have kids one day, like you tick a lot of boxes. Like she would put my shoes on and tie my shoestring. She would do stuff like she would take good care of that turns me on, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And everything. She could cook and she could cater. She'll dangle it in your face when she do something for you, but I was training her not to stop doing that because if she wasn't so argumentative and didn't take accountability, I would have put in that category to like, oh, maybe I could go down the road with it. So I had to tell her that, and she thought about it. I was like, yeah, you would be a good wife, but I don't see nobody marrying you with the way you are because you get mad at me when I cut you off because I tell you how bad I hate it. So when I cut you off, that's a whole nother thing. But you cut me off all the time. Why should I? What makes you better than me? And all the other things that you fight, and you always want to argue and stuff like that. Then I think I got to her, and then that's when I said this because we kept breaking up and get back together because I missed the sex after a couple of weeks. I want to go back. I said, but this is the last time.
It happens, man.
Oh man,
it happens.
Why?
I think it's just there is an innate drive in every man that
we like to hawk to her.
We do.
When they spin on that thing.
Like I tell people like this. I tell people like they're like, hey, well, you ever did this? I'm like, bro, you have no idea what a pair of titties how it can fucking distract you. And they're like, what does that mean? I'm like, come on, pay attention. Titties can distract you. Like what I'm trying to tell you is that they're talking, you're focused on the tits. You're not listening to what they're saying because this is what you want. And I said, don't be that way in life. You meet somebody, I go, take people for their word. What they say, hold them accountable. Right. I say, you'll know right away. Yeah. You'll know right away if the person's good or not. I said, now, what you can't do either is you start like, oh, this person's good, this person's awesome. And then you start thinking, the last person did this. The last person did that. And then you start bringing all your fucking baggage from your last relationship. You start treating the new person like you treated the last person. That's why I tell people, you get out of a relationship, don't date nobody. Just detox. Like, don't be with nobody. When I broke up with before I met my wife, I was not dating for a year. So I broke up with my other ex, like it was like in January. So, and that happened, I was like, all right, I'm not going to date anybody. I'm just going to kind of like, stretch my legs a little bit, but not going to take anybody serious.
But you were still though.
like I said, I was stretching my legs. I'm sorry, stretching my leg and my little leg, but I was not taking anybody serious.
Okay, yeah,
you know,
yeah. That's different. Yeah, that's different.
And when I would meet a girl, he would sit there and say, "Oh, like I want to take you serious. Like I want to." Because look, the fact is, I know even though I tell people I'm not the best looking guy, I only have one fucking leg. I know my value. I know what I bring to the table, and I know it's a lot. So this one girl, she was like, "Oh, this." And I said, "Look," I said, I just got out of a fucking relationship. I go, if you want to do it like a friends with benefits, I'm cool with it. I said, but nothing else than that. I said, I'm letting you know right now. So there's no like, oh, I led you on. No bullshit. This is how I am. So it was like that. I probably went through like maybe 3 or 4 different girls. And then at one point, like by the summer, I was like, I'm not going to fucking date nobody. And I'm just going to fucking detox completely. So I didn't date, just chilled, bro. And put all my energy back into my business, which was wonderful because then my business picked up. Opportunities started coming. It was great. It was because I created the space for good things to land. And I knew around dating, trying to hit these, I go, my focus is over there. My business is going to suffer because my business suffered in this last relationship because I made the relationship more important than me. That was my fault, not her fault. That was my bad. So when I realized that, I was like, okay, now I have to take accountability for my actions. Why was I being the way that I was? Why did I show up in the relationship the way that I did? That I would do anything to please her, make her happy. And I was like, that's not who I am, man. I said, I really wanted that relationship to work. I wanted to work so much that I went above and beyond what I normally would do, and it still didn't work. And I was like, this is destined to fail. I said, wish her the best. She'll find somebody to make her happy like I will. But in order for me to do that, I got to create the space, make everything like cool. Because if I have this bullshit right here, I'm going to attract that same bullshit.
Right.
And we do that a lot in life, Rampage. We don't realize how we attract who we have in our life, just the way we carry ourselves, the energy that we give out. And I tell people, like, you want to find somebody cool? I said, I have a friend right now, he's going through a lot. And he's like, bro, this girl wants to be with me. I go, bro, right now you have no business being in a relationship. He's like, you're right. I said, get right first. I said, because if not, you're only going to attract garbage. And he did. This one girl he was with, she was fucking garbage, trying to manipulate him. And I even told her, I go, she's full of shit, bro.
I can't stand those type of girls.
And then to top it off, because my friend is who he is, a friend of mine ran a background on her. And he comes up to me, he's like, dirty, bro. And I was like, cool. And I said, done. I let my friend know. It got so bad, I even said, hey, bro, if you and I need to stop talking because of this, I said, cool. I said, I'm not going to allow this shit. If it means that I stop talking to you, to hold you accountable, to not having bullshit in your life, I'm going to do that. But you're going to thank me later, or I hope not, or you're going to hate me later because she's going to fucking do a number on you. And then him and I kind of stopped talking for a minute. And then one day he was like, hey, bro, you're right.
He didn't like the truth at first, huh?
He was like, give me proof. And I said, bro, you're going to have to trust my word. I said, the people that I fuck with, I said, they're not about, oh, let me show you proof. Let me screenshot this and that. They're like, hey, this is what it is, and it is what it is, and that's it.
Bro, you said something very important that a lot of the audience might not pick up on, that maybe us as men, we need to start doing. Because a lot of times men, we get pressured to marry, right? We dating a girl for a while, and we like that girl. Maybe we might love the girl, and we don't want to lose her. And she was like, oh, you got to make me an honest woman. You got to marry me. You got to marry me. Background check. Sometimes women come, you want to marry a woman, then you find out she's in $100,000 worth of debt or something, or she's got married a few times before and married for only like a year or two and left the guy and got all this money and stuff. That is very important. That's very important.
I went a little bit more extensive, and this is what I mean. My friend is involved in a major financial civil case. We're talking tens of millions of dollars. This case has been going on for 9 years already. Big. It's the largest auto fraud case in United States history. My friend's in it, okay? He's suing manufacturers and finance companies. To make a long story short, I tell him, this case, it's like a $30, $40 million case. And I said, you have to be careful who you allow in your life. I said, because the other side is going to send people to infiltrate, to fuck you up. I said, this is how they're going to do it. And I explained to him, well, when I ran the background, I said, look for the connections between her and them. And they found it.
They sent the girl to him.
Or that, either they sent the girl to him or she was like, hey, give me money and I'll help you. I couldn't find the communication, the exact communication. I found the connection. That's all I needed.
Right.
And I said, hey, bro, there's the connection. Now, you want to believe it? That's on you. He's like, show me the proof. I said, I'm not. I said, the people that I talk to, that I deal with, they're not there to show you proof. They're like, hey, this is what it is, and that's it. And I had brought these people to him because he needed armed security to go into Mexico for some banking stuff. So I was like, use these people. They'll escort you in, out of there, helicopter, high security vehicles, whatever. They'll do this. And those same people, I said, hey, I gave them the name. They came back like, no good. And at that point, they didn't even want to work with him anymore. They're like, we're not going to work with him if she's there.
Wow.
That's because they were like, she's a liability.
Wow.
So when I told him this, I said, bro, she's a liability and this is what we found, da-da-da-da. He didn't want to believe me. And I'm like, hey, bro, it is what it is. And him and I, we had business together. And I said, look, bro, we need to square up what we got going on. I said, because I don't want this to lead to bullshit later on. And then there's a problem with the finances because of what we have invested together. Wow. And he was like, okay. Now he realized, he's like, bro, he goes like, I thank God I had you to do this for me. And I was like, bro, you have to be very, very careful.
Bro, you put me on game. Like next time I get in like a serious relationship with a girl, background check.
Dude, I'll help you out, bro.
Oh, you the man.
Got you, man.
See, I think a lot of us guys need to think like that. I feel like a lot of people are good people. Most people are good people, and they don't want to think that.
You know what's about what you're saying, Rampage? The fact that we got to talk about that, like it's a thing. Like, hey, maybe, no, it should be hey, we should do this shit. And another thing too, a lot of people will sit there and say, what do you mean? Especially females. Why do you got to do background? We're not doing backgrounds on you. Yeah, you are.
Yeah,
you know who the I am when you get with me. And people know who you are when they get with you.
For
so
sure.
You're going to sit there and tell me that a background check? Oh, go yourself.
For sure. Like
I'm going to do the same thing.
Women are private eyes, especially on social media. They can do everything they can find out just with social media. Just with social media, women do all this shit.
Hey, women love to pride themselves. Oh, I'm like the FBI. I could find anything out. I look at them like, really? But you can't tell when your man is not happy with you, can you? For the FBI, you can find anything on social media, but you don't know when your man is not happy with you.
They don't care about that. They only care about their own happiness. I feel like majority of the women don't care about men's happiness.
No,
and we need to be happy as well.
Because women were raised to be happy. That's their motive, is to be happy. They don't think I need to be financially secure. I need to be safe. They want to be happiness is first, and that's their problem.
Bro, I hate when men say happy.
Oh, they got gay ass bullshit. Happy wife, happy life. Get the out of here. Want to hear a funny story about this?
I hate that.
So I have a compadre. It's my best friend since high school. His name is Robert. He got married to a girl. She was a deputy district attorney. The girl thought she was the shit. When I met her, I was like, oh, God. And he's like, I'm going to marry her. And I'm like, don't. And he's like, why? I go, she's not. I go, bro, you're a two-time loser. He's been divorced twice. I said, bro, you're a two-time loser. This is going to be your third. You're going to strike out. He's like, no, Tom, you don't understand. She's different. And I go, no, bro, you don't understand. Like, you're a pussy whooper right now. That's your problem. I said, look, I go, this is what she's showing you. I said, and you still don't want to pay attention. Make a long story short, one day we were at the house and she was like, hey, Tom, right? Happy wife, happy life? I go, no, right in front of my girlfriend. I go, no. I go, only people that say that are simps that don't have the fucking balls to stand up.
Happy house, happy spouse.
Thank
happy
you.
spouse, happy house.
Exactly.
Everybody
Nobody
happy.
understands that. And I said, that's a selfish thing. Well, why not? I go, it's a very selfish thing that a woman's happiness comes before anything. I said, it's a very, very selfish thing. It rots your foundation. That was so bad, Rampage, that when they got married, okay, they got married. They ended up getting married. So I've never done this. I told him, don't marry her. And he was like, I need a witness the day of the wedding. I'm like, I'm going to show up and say, don't fucking do it. And he's like, please, Tom, I need you as a witness. You're my best friend. Help me out. Okay, I'm going to do it, but I'm doing it against my own. Like, I'm doing this in protest. I'm letting you know. Bro, 2 years later, they got divorced, right? And I told him, look, I'm not going to throw it in your face. Just move on. Stop dealing with idiots like that. I go, whenever I hear. So they had a kid together. He was having a party for her. And he's like, hey, I need you to send an invitation to Tom. This is his address. She was like, I'm not sending him one because he said that a happy wife is not a happy life. I fucking lost it, Rampage. I was fucking dying. I was like, she still remembers, and that's why she's not inviting me to your daughter's birthday. It was hilarious.
She would never forget that.
Never.
If you disagree with their anecdotes and all that.
So my boy is he's a big time he works for the city of Inglewood in housing, right? So they just built a big unit building, and he got his name put on the plaque because he was part of the planning commission and everything. Very proud of him. I go, this is a fucking honor. Your name's up there forever. It's immortalized, you know. The day of the event, his ex-wife showed up with her daughter. And his daughter, I'm not close to her. I'm close to the other kids, but I'm not close with this one because, of course, she's been corrupted. I'm an asshole, right? Mm-hmm. So she walks in, and at one point, I'm sitting there eating, and she's across the room, and I'm sitting there with my wife.
The daughter or the ex-wife?
The ex-wife and the daughter. I me so bad, and I just went like this. I was like, and I could tell that pissed her off because I was like, you're fucking mad dog looks. You're stupid. You don't matter.
Yeah, you don't give a fuck.
But yeah, I do agree. And that's one of the reasons why, too, I want to do the podcast. I want to talk to young men and explain to them, hey, there's nothing wrong with being a man. There's nothing wrong with being masculine.
Right.
I said, there's this fucking stupid oxymoron term that doesn't make sense. I keep hearing it called toxic masculinity. I go, that's impossible. It doesn't exist. If something's masculine, it's not toxic. Right. I go, it's an oxymoron. I said, women say shit like that to label us, to prove that we're wrong. I said, no, we're not. No. And I said, there's nothing wrong with being masculine. I said, I'm not saying being an asshole. I'm not saying beat women or anything like that. Right. I said, but to stand your ground, I said, and be strong, man, and work on your purpose instead of your fucking relationship, because we all make those mistakes. I'll be the first to admit it. You know, I get so fucking wrapped up in a relationship that I forget about my purpose. You know, and I think every man has to have his fucking purpose, especially young men. They're just starting out. What is your purpose? Oh, I don't know. You know, I'm telling my son right now, my son's 17, and he's like, Dad, I don't know what I want to study in college. I said, you don't have to know right now. He's going to have to pick a major because colleges want to know. I'm like, okay, cool. Something in this category, science, technology, engineering, and math. I go, if you're going to come at me with these, I want to do social studies and shit like that. I go, garbage degree. I go, don't waste my money. I said, use it right. Use this for what it is. Have a plan. This is your purpose right now. Start building it. Start working it. I go, right now your purpose is school. I go, your purpose is to get straight A's. Your purpose is to do this. Your purpose is to graduate, get scholarship. I go, that's your purpose. Don't let women distract you from your purpose.
That's a good message for the young listeners and stuff out there. And when you start this podcast, let me know. And I think this is something that the audience that watches me, I think it's something that they should learn. I don't speak about it enough. I want to speak about it. I want to speak about it more. But the other podcasts I do, the Jackson podcast, we just joke around. It's about MMA. But this is the type of stuff that I really, really like talking about because, you know, they've done studies and said like in 2030, like going to be like 46% of the women won't get married. And I think it's down to social media and OnlyFans. And so that's what our next generation, that's what they got to deal with. That's the dating pool they got to pull from, like OnlyFans girls that all their buddies and everybody's seen everything they got. And they're like porn stars, basically. So what self-respecting man is going to want to marry a porn star? But think about this. Think about guys, that's their dating pool. So a lot of those girls, you know, they're going to get with guys and pressure the guys to fucking marry them. And the guys, you know how we are. Maybe not you because you're a better guy than me because you're faithful and stuff like. But me, when I'm not married, I'm not married. So if I'm, you know, most guys, I think they're kind of like me. You dating a girl, you smashing her and stuff like that, and we thinking we just smashing, but the girl, she wants more, and she'll pressure the guy. You got any advice for guys that's dating girls and they're getting pressured to, you know, settle down and get married?
Yes, absolutely. I tell guys like this, and this is why I say, man, know your purpose. Your purpose should be your goals, should be your plans that you're making. It should be the work that you're doing. And I say, and anytime somebody comes along, I said, your purpose is like a train and it's moving. It moves as fast or as slow as you want it to go. I said, when your purpose, you get to a train station and a girl gets on, and she tried to tell you to go a different direction, go slower, go take a different track. I said, that's not the girl for you, man.
Right.
She's not. I said, you need to know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and can't let nothing distract you from that. I started telling my son already, and my son's 17. I don't even think he's at the point where girls are a major thing for him. He's not. My son's a late bloomer. you know, and I tell him, I'm like, girls can be a distraction, you know, and my son tells me that he goes, Dad, you know what? Is it bad that I'm picky? And I'm like, no, you're a handsome kid. I said, you don't just take anything that comes your way. You should be picky. You should sit there and say, hey, no, this is my value. I want someone that's going to add value to my life, not take away from it. I said, all too often we see young guys that get in situations to get with a girl. Why do you like her? Oh, because she's hot or because she's pretty. And with that, you put up with a lot of bullshit, you know, and that's why I always tell, especially young men, this is my favorite thing. It was told to me by an OG a long fucking time ago, and it hasn't fucking changed. I tell people like this: fuck with the girl that likes you, not the one you like. You've heard that so many times, so many ways.
I learned it in elementary.
Yes. It was told to me a long time ago, and for the longest time, I've always liked that. You know, there was a time when I kind of forgot that because, like, I'll be the first to tell you, after my accident, I didn't have the confidence that I have right now. It took me a while to get it back. I was in a very, very dark place, you know, mentally, emotionally. To top it off, Rampage, after I had my accident, I'm in the hospital and I got two brothers, okay, that I'm thinking have my back, are gonna take care of me and look after my son in the case that I would die. I had my property under their name. You know what they're planning? Oh, how we're gonna keep this shit because it's worth $1 million. So I get out of the hospital and I'm up. You know, my brothers and I started arguing about some other shit. It had to do with, so I had another brother with Down syndrome, and it became a thing of who's going to take care of him because, you know, my parents had already passed, and I had to set up a co-op in my parents' house, and my brother was taken care of by family members and so forth, and it was great. My brother loved it. And then one brother comes in, he's like, nah, I'm going to fuck this all up. I'm going to bring my family to live here. And I'm like, hey, we don't even know your family that you have in Mexico. We don't even know her. My brother doesn't even know her. You're not going to come in and start shit and do shit whatever the fuck you want. And he's like, yeah, I will. Watch me. And he did. He came in, fucked everything up. I had to go to court to battle the conservatorship. When that was happening, my brother's like, we're going to keep the property from you. We're not going to give it back. Fuck you. It's in our name. So they started collecting my rents. They were trying to bankrupt me. Wow. My own brothers, you know, stealing from me. So needless to say, we don't fucking talk anymore. But when all this shit was happening, I'm pivoting, I'm reinventing my life, and I'm already starting, like, I'm literally $150,000 in debt. You know, attorney fees are, you know, killing me. And so I'm like, fuck. But you know what? I never stopped believing in myself. I kept reminding myself, you don't lose. You don't lose. You don't lose. Even when I was losing, you don't lose. You don't lose. Pivot, pivot, pivot. So I did. And granted, around this time, I wasn't the strongest emotionally. And when I met my ex, she offered me things that I didn't have, and I loved it. So when I look back and I was like, why was I so enamored with this relationship if it wasn't giving me? She's not the kind of person that would fulfill me. It was what she was giving me. It was what she was offering me. Her family, you know, opened their doors to me. Their family, a great family, you know. Matter of fact, I'm still friends with some of them even on social media. They opened the doors for me. They welcomed me into their family. And I love that because I needed that in my life, you know. But after a while, when you start realizing, okay, this is not working, you know, it's sad. You have to say bye to family, you know. She had a brother who had a daughter named Bella, who I loved. Like, she was like my favorite, you know, and she loved me. And like, you miss having those relationships, but it's just life. It's just what it is, you know. But I go back and I say to myself, I wasn't in my right head. I wasn't in my right mindset. I was fucked up in all kinds of ways, mentally, emotionally. I had to build myself back from that. You know, I didn't have the confidence that I have today. I didn't have it because, you know, I'm missing a leg, you know, a lot of shit. You know, it's like, okay, how am I going to do this? I'm a single dad. My son's 8 years old. How am I going to raise him? How am I going to make a living to take care of him? You know, thankfully, I always believed in myself, and I knew at the end of the day, I always tell people, at the end of the day, everything's gonna be all right. Right. And if it's not all right, it's not the end of the day. Right. You know, so I'll keep telling myself, you don't lose, and it's not the end of the day. So just keep going. Right. You know. I'm
gonna tell you this. I appreciate some of the knowledge that you dropped for me today. This is the way I learned, by listening to people who are more experienced and stuff. And I learned a lot just by sitting here talking to you. I want to thank you for taking time to come down and talk to me and us doing this side quest.
Rampage, the pleasure was mine, bro.
Yeah, I
love doing this. When you asked me, I was like, the first thing that came to my mind was like, what am I going to talk about?
Yeah,
You know?
just
shooting the shit.
Yeah, we're shooting the shit.
know?
Chop it up, and I hope you guys learned something. I want you guys to take away from this, like, you know your purpose, like he said, know your purpose in life, and yeah, the world is all about this toxic masculinity. But I tell you guys this, I'm gonna leave you guys with this. When you let a woman walk all over you and stuff like that, they're not gonna like you no more.
They're never going to respect you.
They're never gonna respect you. They're not gonna like you. They're gonna be the ones. They're gonna go and they're gonna cheat on you, and they're gonna go and find an alpha type guy who is more masculine.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna try to demasculate you. Did I say that word right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they're gonna try to. Yeah, that's what they try to do. They've been taught to do that, and then they're gonna figure out that's not what they want. Most women, they don't really. They say different than what they really want. They don't really say what they want. They try to say what's politically correct or whatever. That's not really what they want. That's not really what they respond to. So be yourself. Don't let them talk you into, you know what I'm saying, being something that you're not. And you never will lose women chasing money.
Oh man.
You never lose women
Rampage.
chasing money.
Okay, Rampage. There's this man, I call him the chief. This man was a second father to me. This man taught me how to be a man, okay? And one day he tells me, we were talking about something, and I was telling him about my little ambitious plans, what I wanted to do, and he was like, good. And at the time, I had just had my son, and I was like, yeah, but I'm having problems, you know, with his mom and blah, blah, blah. 'Cause we were having problems from Jump Street, you know? And then he looked at me and he was like, okay. And he tells me, he goes, hey, just remember, in life, there are no problems. There are only solutions.
Right.
And I was like, oh, shit, that's deep. That's powerful. It's true. And then he tells me this, and he says, and especially don't ever forget as a man, he says, if you chase pussy, you're always going to have money problems. He goes, but if you chase money, you're never going to have pussy problems.
That's 100% fact.
And it's fucking fact.
Y'all remember that shit. You know what I'm saying? And tell us your Instagram so when you start your podcast.
So my Instagram is just my name, Tomas Delamora, TOMAS_DELAMORA. Our gym is Live Alpha. We're here in Costa Mesa. Come down. We're private. We're not in a public gym. So we're not going to have, you know, a bunch of, you know, dumbasses running around and they're acting like fools. We're there to think and grow together. That's what we do. We're very competitive. One thing that Rampage, when he walked into our gym, he loved it. He goes, this is the next level gym right here.
I love that gym.
And that's one thing that we pride ourselves in, what we built. You know, my construction company is the one that built it. And so we love it. We're very proud of what we have there. And we'd love to have you come down and check it out, and love having Rampage part of our gym. And the last thing I'll tell you guys, remember what I said, with the girl that likes you, not the one you like. And I promise you, things will go right for you. But you have to listen.
Yeah,
you do.
And when you start your podcast, I want your first episode to tell us about the time you went to the Diddy party.
Man, I could tell some stories, Rampage, that even sometimes I'm like, I probably shouldn't tell that one.
yeah. Tell on your podcast about that time you went to the Diddy party. We all heard about that around the gym.
Ain't no party like Diddy party. Just kidding. Never, for the record, never been to a Diddy party. Just for the record. Not saying I wouldn't have gone if I wasn't invited.